This week's topic is when nothing helps.
Good morning and welcome to the Chronic Pain Call-In Show, the only show about chronic pain where you can call in live. I'm your host, JosephofBorg. I'm here every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. I look forward to talking to you.
Hey, here we are. Happy Sunday morning to you. I am JosephofBorg, and today we are going to talk about coping when nothing helps. I apologize to those of you who tried to tune in last week. I had this. To be completely candid, I had the painsomnia. If you don't know what painsomnia is, good morning, Wanda. If you don't know what painsomnia is, you want to hear more about it, you want to discuss it, you want to talk about it, leave a comment, and we're going to get off to the races today. I hope you like the new intro. If you do, give me a thumbs up. It keeps me from having to repeat myself, and I figured it was a concise way to give everybody the information about what goes on here. It's been a busy week for me on a personal level. So I'm going to get to our topic today, and I'm going to break it down into several different components. There's behavioral, there's meds, there's procedures. Each of these are different steps that most of us have been through, or we wouldn't be chronic pain people. Obviously, if the stuff that you had tried thus far worked, you wouldn't be here in the chronic pain community. I got my Kleenex out because we might get there today. Hey, it's hidden behind the Borg, which is kind of cool. I've had some updates on my health issues. Recently saw the doctor, do imaging, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to make the show all just about my condition and what I got going on. So I have decided to resurrect what used to be my, well, it still is, my Facebook page called Surfing the Pain. In fact, I'm going to take a second and type it in over here. All right, I'll put a link there. I'm not sure why you guys are just seeing my image. There we go. I screwed that up. Sorry. One-man show. I'll put a link in there for Surfing the Pain. I don't want to make you guys watch while I go and get it and paste it. So, but what's going on with my health, how I'm coping with it, how I'm making the decisions that are being put to me. I'm going to have all that over there, kind of a vlog type style, because I don't want to make the show all about me. I want to hear from you guys. I want to talk to you guys about things that matter to you. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a frog. We got cold weather here in Vegas, which means it's down in like the 30s, which is cold. You know, if it gets down to freezing here, they get pretty excited. So, and then if you want to follow just my medical stuff in detail, I'm going to start throwing that up on my page, JosephofBorg. I'll put a marker here. Again, I'm just putting that as a marker there. You'll be able to go back and take a look. I'll put the link. I was trying to come up with a way to be able to put links up while I'm live. I'm not fast enough to do it, and I don't want to make you watch me. So those links will be up after the show. Most of you watch this in repeat anyway. So let's get to it. I do have my Kleenex in case it goes there. So because, you know, we've all been through this struggle. This is something that I think we in the chronic pain community all share, regardless of our particular affliction, is coping when nothing happens. Hey, Carol, when nothing helps. Most of us, pain came on gradually. Obviously, there's people who had sudden injuries and whatnot, and I'm not writing you out, but the pain is new. And obviously, if you're a rational human being, you're going to try and do non-invasive stuff first, right? Maybe they give you some stretching to do. Maybe that works and you see some improvement. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it makes you worse. Maybe you try. I've been through acupuncture. I've been through massage. I've done chiropractic for a while until it just wasn't safe for them to work on me anymore. Um, you know, you're going to try anything. You know, maybe you're trying some Advil, you're trying to get to the gym and work out, or you're trying to stretch. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not. Obviously, if it's working, you go back to life. If not, you know, it's tough when you get so many conflicting uh, suggestions from different PT people, different doctors, whatnot. And generally, if none of that works, then it seems like the next move is to try some meds. Now, maybe this starts with over-the-counter stuff. Maybe uh, you've got muscle spasms, whatever kind of meds you're going to try. Um, Obviously, side effects are a possibility. Everybody responds differently, and as you can tell, I'm not a doctor, but it gets, you try the meds, you do what they tell you to do, and things just aren't improving. And stuck in immobility. Yeah, it's a tar pit, is what I tell people. It makes me think of a tar pit. I used to say tar baby because I learned the story about Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and the tar baby, but somebody told me that that was considered not PC anymore, that somehow tar baby had a negative connotation. But um, once you become immobile, an object at rest wants to stay at rest. So the whole time that you're doing this stuff, you're trying to stay motivated and you're fighting that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I did a show, Wanda, about guilt. I don't know if you saw it. It's back a couple of weeks. Um, but yeah, definitely check that out. And if you've got specific comments, feel free to leave them, obviously. Maybe I'll revisit that from time to time for new viewers. But so you try the meds. Maybe the side effects are prohibitive. Maybe they don't work. I know for me personally, meds have never been a big help with my pain issues. Um, I don't know if that makes me lucky or not, because then I don't have to worry about them with all the opiate nonsense that's going on. Oh, you watched the rerun. I hope you enjoyed that, Wanda. If you've got comments, leave them over there so everybody on that topic can hear them or read them, rather. That would be fantastic. I really want to promote you guys to be interactive with me. So, once you've kind of maxed out trying passive stuff and physical therapy and nothing's working with that, and then now they probably have started you on some meds. You've tried a couple of meds. Maybe you're seeing a little improvement. Maybe you're seeing a lot. Maybe you're sick as shit and you don't want to live with the side effects. Um, then they start talking mildly invasive stuff. And look, by now, if you're through this much, you're probably starting to lose your faith in the process and the system. I understand when nothing is seeming to work, and now opiate medications. Let's touch on that a second because that's a hot button issue right now. Okay, I don't think any doctor should morally hold you hostage to have certain procedures done, or they won't prescribe you pain medication that you've used in the past that's worked for you. I think that's at the very least unethical, okay, to hold your meds for ransom, so to speak, unless you do X, Y, Z. As far as procedures go, um, I think that's something I'd probably report to a state medical board, and I'd call my insurance and tell them exactly why I wanted a different doctor if I felt my meds were literally being held hostage. Now, that said, let's not pretend that using opiates over the a lot of us are looking at managing chronic pain over decades, potentially. So let's not pretend that opiates don't have their fair share of negatives, especially when you're looking at them long term. I'm not against them. I'm not for them. You've got to do what works for you, okay? But I think if you're looking at 20, 30 years of opiate management with the problems that come with it from dependence and other issues, and the fact that you tend to become, I don't know the medical term, a tolerance. where you need more of it over time to achieve the same effect. So, you know, that's all something that you have to consider. But eventually they run out of non invasive stuff and now they start talking about procedures. Um, I'm sorry. I just keep looking over at the chat to try and see what's going on. Yeah, I think it's terrible when people have their meds held hostage. No doubt about it. Just to be clear. So, but this is when the level when you're fed up and you're probably getting desperate because it's been a while. By the time you've worked through the system to get these things done, it's taken some time. And now they start probably talking about on the low end injections. Maybe they are talking about doing a discectomy, which, as far as spinal surgery goes, they go in and reshape a disc where it's pushing on a nerve as a rule. Again, I'm no doctor. You can tell that looking at me. Um, shave it, whatever, clean it up, whatever term you want to use. That's probably the most benign of the spinal surgeries. I'm not saying it's no big deal necessarily. Your mileage is going to vary. You really want to talk about discectomies? Again, throw it at me. I'm up for any topic. But that's one of the milder surgeries. They may be talking injections. Now, some injections are FDA approved, some are not. This is can be a real hot button topic in the pain community. Okay, know what they're using, know where they're putting it. It's your body. Okay, there's a huge difference, for instance, between facet joint injections and epidural injections, and you should know the difference. And again, if you don't and you want to know, throw a comment in there. Um, I just you need to know what's going on. You're going to have to advocate for yourself. You've got to stay on top of it. Do your research. Not all spinal injections. They tend to lump a whole lot of different procedures in there. Um, if you don't have success with the spinal injections, uh, probably at some point they're going to start talking about doing a radio frequency ablation or RFA or a rhizotomy. They seem to have multiple terms for these things just to make it confusing. Um, it just again reading the chat. Yeah, if you're seeing your doctor weekly, I mean, let's face it, the system's broken. I would suggest you. I'll take a moment and respond to it because the whole point of the show is to be interactive. I would consider writing emails and or physical letters because I think they're harder to be, less likely to be ignored, um, to your state representatives because you might be surprised at how much they can grease the wheels for you. Um, Again, that's just my own personal advice. Uh, but when they start talking invasive procedures, at some point they're probably going to start talking about radio frequency. I've done some videos on that. I can try and dig up the links if there's a lot of people wanting to know. Basically, they use electroprequency, so think like microwave. They use a needle to get to the spot to kill the nerve that conducts the pain signal. That's super brief explanation. It is not exactly surgery. It's certainly not just a shot. It falls into that gray area I almost think of as microsurgery. Um, some people they work for, some people they don't. Um, and that's pretty much from here on out. That's the topic. Is some people it works for, some people it don't. Um, I had 2 rounds of radio frequency ablations. They did 4 locations on each side of my lumbar spine. Um, and they worked for about 6 months. And then with my insurance, I had to do 2 rounds of blocks every time that I had to have them redone, which, that ends up being 24 needles uh, to the spine every 6 months with the burns, which is a lot of tissue damage. That's a lot of needle traffic, a lot of scar tissue. I didn't find for myself that that was going to be a long-term solution. So now what? Um, it worked for me, but I simply couldn't go through all that every 6 months. Plus, I fell into a situation that is not going to happen to you, and you all know I don't care to fearmonger, so I will just brush across. I got some contaminated steroids by a company called New England Compounding Center that got sued out of existence. And yes, it was on the news. I want to say about 2012 or 13. People were dying because they were injected with steroids that were contaminated with black mold. That is not going to happen to you. Okay, that was a hugely negligent thing with a company that no longer exists. Okay, but it was a factor for me that it kind of made me realize I didn't want to be getting this this much needlework done in the small of my back over and over and over. So then I went to a spinal cord stimulator. Um, because I was looking for something, quite frankly, that worked as well to interrupt my pain. My uh, radio frequencies worked for my nerve pain and my arthritis or structural pain, as I think of it. Um, Worked for both. Uh, when they started talking about putting a device inside me and attaching it to my spine, I was so overwhelmed. I cried. And I really didn't like the idea of having a device implanted on me in me that I was going to be dependent on. Um, but I went in. I knew for me personally, my pain had become at a drastic level. I mean, when you're this deep and this many procedures into it, and you're still having pain, things are probably getting to a head where you're beginning to be ready to try just about anything you have been through, wanting to give up and being disgusted and not wanting to try, and the poor me's and the it ain't fairs. And I've been through those steps, and I don't know really how to, uh, other than tell you you're not alone. That's the number one reason I make this show, is to try and get the chronic pain community to network. We can talk to each other in this modern digital age just like this. Um, Isolation is a killer for those of us who are challenged geographically to move around, i.e., stuck in the house. So, it gets to be the isolation is a real killer. Let's not talk around that. The discouragement, lack of trust in doctors, uh, conflicting opinions on doctors. Doctors, that I've heard everywhere from 8 to 15. 15 sounds high, and to be honest, 8 minutes of the actual doctor being actually in the room engaged with me actually sounds about right. I'm just being real. And I've got some tips for efficiency when you meet with your doctors. If you guys want to hear about that, type efficiency in the comments. I'll do a show on how to efficiently make use of that little bit of time you actually get to present to the physician. Because that's the name of the game. You need to know what you need to know, and you need to get that information to and from the doctor efficiently. And not make it's tough to be succinct and to stay on focus when you're in chronic pain. Case in point, I'm losing viewers. Shit, I'm sorry. I must be rambling. So maybe part of it's a little bit of avoidance, to be honest. But okay, so at some point they break out the needles and they want to start going inside and changing shit. You got to know when once you start this path, there may be no going back. But by the time you're getting a couple procedures and some injections and shit under your back or under your belt, you've been living with this a while, okay? And things do come to a head where you are probably going to choose some type of procedure. Personal thing, where you're going to start, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's medical strategy is different, okay? Um, but they're going to start doing procedures or offering you procedures at some point. Like I said, I got to the point where I knew I literally could not live at the pain level I was at on a daily basis. So I knew I had to try something, and they explained to me the risks about spinal cord stimulators. I see people get all kinds of procedures and then later say they didn't know the risks or they wish they'd known. Look, anytime they're breaking your skin and messing with your spine, there are issues and there are risks. Let's not be coy about it. Let's not pretend there's not. Okay, so you're stuck constantly between the rock and the hard place, risk versus reward. There are no easy choices once you start dealing with your spine. And it's quite possible that there will be a uh, cascade effect because, yeah, Wanda, actually got arthritis. I've got arachnoiditis in my cervical spine. Um, I'm sorry I'm not engaged in the chat as much as I want. I'm trying to serve two masters, so I apologize if I'm not more thorough. Uh, I'll tell you what, you can swing, you can always make a post on the page too. If I miss something or if there's a topic you don't want me to address, just make a post on the page. Um, but yeah, I see you, Wanda, and I thank all of you guys for viewing. It looks like we're up to 6. It's my dream to carry double digits, so spread the word. Okay, quick plug. Which circles me back to procedures. When you start getting spinal procedures, to a certain point, there are just no good decisions. Everything has its risks. Everything has its potential rewards, and everything has the caveat that it doesn't work for everybody. So, um, eventually, through chronic pain management, generally, you're going to come to a fork in the road. For the most part, I've heard about ketamine. I don't really know much about it. I've researched it about that much. Doesn't sound like it's something I'm going to get into. If you really want to know about ketamine, again, let me know. I got some people I know in that community that would be happy to share anything and everything you want to know about it. But really, it comes to more conventionally, because ketamine seems to be pretty cutting edge and a little bit controversial, like everything connected with chronic pain and spinal issues. Pain pumps, spinal cord stimulators. I did a show a couple weeks ago about pain pumps with Bob. He and his group and page are a huge resource if you want to talk about pain pumps and get the skinny. I run Spinal Cord Stimulator Success Stories, which is a Facebook page and a group. I'll put up posts for those after the show because I don't want to sit here and make you guys watch me hunt and peck. Um, if you're looking at either of those types of devices. Now, I ended up, in full disclosure, I'm pretty much the poster boy for spinal cord stimulator success stories. So I was kind of out of the fire. And this is where it got tough for me is I got my spinal cord stimulator and shortly before I got it, I woke up one morning and my hands were numb, and that was the beginning of the end for my cervical spine. Um, hey, how you doing, Catherine? Thanks for joining. Um, God's got a sense of humor, I guess. So I was pretty much housebound / bedridden for about 8 months while I was pushing through my spinal cord stimulator because they wanted me to go back. My second round of RFAs had run out. I had really good reasons for why I didn't want to keep going forward with those repeatedly, and I wanted to take the next step. They wanted me to go back through physical therapy, and one session of that sent me to the ER, where I got the heavy duty pain meds back in the day. Um, and as it worked through the system to get me approved, and then my doctor went on vacation for a month, I was down for about 8 months. Now, when I went down in between RFAs, and this is one of the reasons why it wasn't realistic for me is when I went down, I was out of business. I was uh, pretty much housebound slash bedridden until I could get my next round of RFAs. So I couldn't be going down for the 4 to 6 weeks that it was going to take to get all the procedures uh, booked and approved. And then, of course, it takes a little time for an RFA to take effect for those of you who are thinking about it or have had it and are waiting. If they didn't tell you, yeah, it takes a while for RFAs to take effect. Uh, I did do a show about CBD. It wasn't a big help for me. That's a spoiler. Um, but I did do a show about it, and I'll try to remember to put a link up uh, to it because I did a little three-part series about it. I think they work great for some people. I really enjoyed the products that I was sent in disclosure, and I did a review of them. I'm not interested in doing 100 different brands. This was the first company that reached out to me to give me free products and wrote my honest review. Uh, and there is a ton of good information. The second episode in that series talks about I talk with a pharmacist who's on their product development team. So if somebody out there wants some CBD information, remind me if I don't put it up. I will add a link to the CBD video so that you guys can check that series out. Thanks for bringing that up, Wanda. Uh, so I got approved for the spinal cord stimulator. Um, I was pretty much housebound, bedridden. Uh, I couldn't be vertical for very long, and I would have actual tears running down my face, not upset and crying, but just my pain level was so high that my eyes would tear, which is really socially awkward when you're checking out at the grocery store and you get tears running down your face and everybody wants to know what's wrong and what's going on, and you get real sick of explaining that nothing's going on. I'm just having a physical reaction to a really high pain level. Um, so at that point, I was looking for something more permanent. Uh, I hung in there. I got my spinal cord stimulator. I went back to standing on the casino floor because I was in the gaming business. 40 hours a week, no meds. Okay. I'm poster boy. It worked for my nerve pain. It worked for my arthritis pain. I was able to affect everything from my bottom rib to the soles of my feet. Even now, 6 years later, it does an amazing job for my lumbar issues. Um, that is really not what's got me at home and disabled. It's my cervical issues, which is what really put me out of the workforce. But I went back to working full time for about 18 months until my cervical issues finally took me out. I started to lose my fine motor skills, having trouble tying my shoes. Obviously, if you're a casino dealer, there's not much you can do in that line of work if your hands don't work anymore. So, just checking the chat, okay? So, my spinal cord stimulator was a huge success. Unfortunately, when my cervical spine, the pains kept getting worse. It hurts to use my arms. In layman's terms, and again, I'll talk about this more over on Surfing the Pain and Joseph of Borg. If you really want to know the nitty gritty about my story, not everybody cares to know the details of my health issues, but I've got nerve compression issues in my cervical spine levels 4, 5, and 6. Amongst other things, this makes my fine motor skills compromised, and it when I use my arms, it makes them hurt more. And I'm of the theory that since I'm trying to send data down those nerves and they're being squeezed, that when they're in use, they seem to know something's wrong. I don't know. Not using them, pain goes down. Using them, pain goes up. Throughout the day, I lay down and I get up um, to manage my pain because not much else has helped. Um, as you can tell, I'm kind of circling around to this. Um, eventually you have some procedures, you see how they work out. I had the spinal cord stimulator and I thought I was out of the woods. I'm just being honest. I went back to work. I wasn't able to deal because my fine motor skills were still jacked up, but I was able to work in the players club. I had hoped maybe I could get into supervisory or some supervisory position or something else in the gaming business. Little did I know, in 18 months I was going to have trouble buttoning my shirt to go to work, uh, trouble shaving myself, trouble writing and holding a pencil. I grip a pencil or a pen so tight because I can't feel it. Um, for the most part, it feels like I got oven mitts on. Um, so I went back down basically. I had been told that when it got to the point I was having those kinds of problems, that it would be time to be looking at getting my cervical spine fused. But not it wasn't going to fix it. We knew this from the imaging we'd done that that ship had sailed. What we were looking to do is make as much space as possible to open things up and buy me time, because also through 4, 5, and 6 of your cervical spine goes your breathing, your bowel control, all 4 limbs, and your bladder. So when they talk about like C4 paralysis, that's level cervical 4 if you have your spinal cord severed or broken or whatever. Think Christopher Reeves. That's a high neck issue. So I went in and I got the 3-level fusion, and as expected, it was a little bit better for a few days, and I think a lot of that had to do with all the gunk and steroids and God knows what else they threw in there. Um, Most doctors don't understand arachnoiditis. Yeah, most of my doctors have never heard of it. Um, yeah, we're not alone. That's the big thing. 4 through 7, hey, I'm in the same kind of club. Let's see, they did for me, they did 4, 5, and 6. So, yeah, I appreciate that, Wanda. That's why I'm out here, and I know I tend to get off on the ramble, but I wanted to, look. You can go get data anywhere, okay? I want to tell you what it's like living with this shit, how you get through it day to day. Um, so yeah, I'm really glad you finding use on that. But yeah, so that we fused my 4, 5, and 6 to buy me time, because I've got calcification going on, which is inside my neural foramen. So I've got basically where the nerves go through a tunnel of bone, an irritant got in there and it's causing it, just like an oyster, to make a pearl, which puts pressure on the nerves, which causes more inflammation, which causes more calcification, and all this is going on inside a tunnel of bone. So they can't access it and they can't stop it, and it actually grows like coral and can move from level to level and grows along existing structures, i.e. your nerves and your vertebra. That's what's going on in my cervical spine. They got no fix for this, okay? I had surgery knowing it wasn't going to fix it. Um, it didn't fix it. My doctor, told me, uh, he actually told me I'm one of the cases that keeps him up at night, because he doesn't have a solution for me. He doesn't really have much more suggestion. They could go in from the back, but that's a no-winner because they still can't access it. It's inside a tunnel of bone, you know. Um, Plus, they told me straight up, if they were to cut through all the muscles in the back of my neck, my pain level is going to be quite high, no matter what, the rest of my life, just from the procedure. Even if the procedure is 100% successful, trying to get access to it, it's just prohibitive. And even like I said, if they can get down to it, it's all going on inside a tunnel of bone. The example they gave me is, if you've ever seen a tree growing through a knothole or through a chain link fence, and it kind of makes wedges in there like a cork in a champagne bottle, how it conforms to the inside of the neck of the bottle. Anyway, can't get at it, can't fix it. What do you do? Fuck. Okay? And yeah, it's taken me, it looks like quite a while to get around to this. But, what do you do when they tell you there's nothing left we can do for you? You know? I mean, fuck, you get, the discouragement and trying to get through just absorbing that idea that you're one of the people that it can't help. And of course, you've got your friends and family who mean well, trying to be encouraging or telling you how, oh, they're always coming up with new shit. But, I've got something so exotic from what I'm told, there ain't nobody working on what's wrong with me. It's just that simple. So few people have what I got going on, that they just there's no Chris Rock does a bit. Ain't gonna be no parade for you. Jerry Lewis ain't gonna have no show. Okay, it is what it is. You deal with your well-meaning family who all have suggestions and they don't get it. And I've covered they don't get it. If you want to talk about how they don't get it, again, try, guys. I know I keep hitting this, and I don't mean to be spammy about it, but I want to talk about things you want to know about, discussions you want to have. So, you know, they start talking about, having the best life you can have with the time you got left, or the good time you've got left, because you've got a degenerative this, that, and the other, and these are the long-term likely effects. If you're in pain now, you're likely going to be in more pain in the future. Welcome to the pleasure dome. Bend over, get ready to take it. Um, Hands getting, yep, difficulty with balance. Um, I'll tell you, well, let's get real with it for a minute. Um, Recently, my wife has noticed, and I had noticed, but I didn't go out of my way to make a big deal about it, that I'm brushing the corners. Um, when I go around the couch, if I don't step way around the couch and I kind of just try and slip by the couch, my slipper is shot. My I don't move as far as I think I'm moving, or I overcompensate, or I'll catch a shoulder going through the door. Not real hard. Sorry, that must have been jarring when I hit my mic. Um, a lot of arachnoiditis in the house today. Good to see you guys. Wish you didn't have it. You guys are the arachnoiditis community has been a huge, huge benefit to me. In fact, I don't know if you guys have all joined groups, but there's some really good groups. I should probably ask them if I can put up links. Uh, if you've got a group you want to suggest, how about that? That way I can't get in trouble. Feel free to mention them in the comments. Otherwise, I'll talk to some of the arachnoid groups about talking about them on the show. Um, so I'm starting to walk into stuff. There's just no other way to put it. I'm getting clumsier. I was never graceful before. Um, and it's just one of those things I'm noticing with my neurological deterioration. Um, I try and get out as often as I can. I try and get uh, as much exercise as I can. I try and work on my core work and flexibility and coordination in the pool. Uh, it hurts to exercise, and if I don't exercise at the end of 2 or 3 weeks, I have trouble dragging my tired ass to and from the bathroom. And okay, so we do the exercise, and it sucks, especially when you first start. Just like any exercise regimen, when you first start exercising, it sucks. Um, your pain level may actually go up. You've got to balance this all out for you, but again, trying to circle back to the topic, and I don't know how to convey to you guys how it is. I mean, you have to find ways to try and keep your optimism, but eventually, when they tell you there's nothing left to do, then it's just a matter of managing your condition, trying to have as good a life quality of life you have. Um, well, I'm glad it helps for you to have somebody to talk to, Wanda. I'm glad you're with us. Um, if you want to call in, the Borg phone is on. I should probably mention that, huh? 725-333-4140. You can actually call me live and we can chat while I'm on. I know a lot of you catch this in replay, and if you do, you can call the number and leave a voice message. I check it a couple times a week. You can email me at josephofborg@gmail.com. Uh, or you can obviously leave a message, send me a message through Facebook. Um, so yeah, so when you get to the point where there's nothing left for them to do, the meds aren't working, the treatments aren't working, doctors are shrugging, doctors are straight up telling you, I don't know, we got nothing left for you. Um, here's your options, and they're all shitty. Options that you know I got options on the table that are told, 70% chance of paralysis. Come on. I don't think I'm down for that, at least not at this point. But yes, so nothing's going to work. And that's when the battle, I think, begins for acceptance. I talked about grieving your old self on one of my previous shows. Yeah, I talk about the previous shows because I've already done them. I want you to go check them out. If you got more to say about them, make comments over there so that on those listings, especially, let's keep that conversation going. Again, help me help you guys out. Um, but it's tough when you reach the point where they don't have any further real treatments for you. They don't have any suggestions for you. I don't have the call show banner up, do I? Let me forgive me for doing a little tech work here, but I just noticed. There. Hey, that's right. You can call in live. Sorry, I blew that earlier. It's a one-man show, and it's right worth what you pay for it. Uh, so once you back to it, I know I keep wandering. It's been a tough week. Last week I found out, in addition to the lumbar issues I told you about, the cervical issues that have got me completely screwed pretty much. There's days my wife has to cut my food. We'll just leave that there, okay? If you want to hear more about it, fine, let me know. Surfing the pain, that's probably where I'll talk more about my personal challenges like that, unless you guys really want me to bring them here on the show. Um, I went in because I had a chest x-ray and an EKG because, you know, I'll share this briefly. I'll try and be quick about it and not get too in depth. Again, check out over there if you want to hear all the details. But I had ended up in the ER or the urgent care. I wanted them to eliminate the chance that I was having a cardiac event because I have numbness and tingling in my arms all the time, and I was having some pain in my chest. They did an X-ray, the EKG, EKG normal, X-ray, uh, noted that I had degenerative changes in my thoracic spine. I'm told that's fairly rare for them to mention that on a chest x-ray. Followed up with the PCP, go see the orthopedic surgeon. I happen to have a relationship with a really awesome orthopedic surgeon after all this time. I've had an ongoing relationship with the doctor who fused my neck. He's really been there for me. I know a lot of doctors get a rap for being all about the money. He even saw me for free at one point when I didn't have any money and I didn't have insurance, uh, just to help me with my disability paperwork and to keep my file open. And he's really gone above and beyond to be a help to me. So went in, got some x-rays, for real x-rays, really targeting what they wanted to see. It's never a good thing when one doctor leaves and comes back with two more. Now, to wrap it up briefly, they told me I would call this, if I had to put a uh, diagnosis down on paper, um, probably is ankylosing spondylitis. that's a hot thing right now. I've been seeing commercials on my streaming services for drugs for it. Go figure. Um, except for generally from what he told me briefly, and I've got a huge amount of research and learning to do because this is all new to me, that's usually the lower few levels of your spine and hips and joints. He went out of his way to say, but I have it, the bone spurs that are growing towards each other and are eventually going to fuse at literally every level of my spine up to about T7, I'm guessing, because we didn't really notice it or comment on it with my cervical MRI that I had recently. So we're going to MRI the rest of my spine. They're going to send me out to a rheumatologist to see what's up with that. Yeah, the SCS and the arachnoiditis, and then of course there's I'm reading from the chat, sorry, about spinal cord stimulators. Try turning your spinal cord stimulator off and seeing also overstimulation can be a real problem with those units, especially if you happen to be running high frequency, not bashing, just passing information. So, and losing viewers, I see. Uh, I'm trying to roll it and keep it interesting, but I also don't want to just give you guys a lecture. So, um, anyway, so it's kind of ankylosing spondylitis. I'm still doing the research to find out if bone spurs that are growing towards each other and are expected to fuse those levels over time is by default ankylosing, AnkSpon, or whatever acronym you want to use for it, or if sometimes it's due to, if AnkSpon is its own beast, because there's a lot of things that can cause bone spurs, and think of it like a cave. You got the stalagmites on the ceiling and the stalactites on the floor, and if they grow towards each other, eventually you get a column. So shit, how do you keep your optimism? I personally believe it's vital to find something productive to do. Here I am. That's why I do this. And again, losing viewers because I know I got off on a tangent, and I'm sorry. But yeah, at the end of the day, you've got to find something productive to do with your time. Um, and you guys are it for me. So I guess that's not getting all that emotional. If you guys really want to delve into this topic more of how to cope and what I do to cope um, with, as someone who's at the point where there's nothing really left for them to do for me, um, and I'm just trying to focus on quality of life. Uh, you know, they've suggested palliative care, but being told you're a candidate for palliative care and actually getting on it are two different things. If you're not closer to the hospice end of things where you're bedbound and need assistance, if you still function fairly well, I find it, at least in my geographic area, very difficult to find anything to do with uh, palliative care. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it takes a lot of adjustment. When they came home and told me, look, you got bone spurs on every level of your spine, pretty much. It's all going to fuse over time. Have a nice day. Which I guess compared to the nerve pain I've got from my neck and the loss of my fine motor skills and the cognitive issues and neurological issues, not to make fun of people who have this condition, and I just found out I've got it, and I'm not even sure I'm using the term right for what I've got. But yeah, the fact that I'm getting this natural spinal fusion occurring, I came home and cried, told my wife about it. She cried. Um, and then I just kind of brush it off. For me, it's kind of like one more pancake on a stack. With my lumbar issues and my spinal cord stimulator and my cervical issues and all that, it's just kind of one more thing. The pain from it at this point isn't that bad. Hey, if you've got it, if you've got your spine fusing, if you've got the ankylosing AS, I saw it abbreviated as, because I'm going to keep tripping over the name, you know, and you've got some good resources that you think I should know about, send them to me. It sounds like there's a lot of different meds they can have you try. If you've got it and you've tried tried it. In fact, I'm gonna make a note. Obviously, my dumb ass should have thought I should do a AS show. Now that I've been told I have it, or at least some variation of it. So I'm going to the rheumatologist. So now I'm going to get back to the point in a way. Now all of a sudden, now I know I've seen a rheumatologist in the past at some point, don't recall when, but now here it is once again, new doctor, trying hard not to hope too much that maybe there is something they can do to help me cope with the situation, slow down this situation. It sounds like some of the drugs that can be brought to bear on this situation can be extreme, some can be benign. Obviously, your mileage will vary, your side effects will vary. If you've got some insight you want to share, um, oh, my wife, yeah, I always joke. She is wonderful. I joke that I must have done something good in a previous life because I got a wife way better than I deserve. Her name is Rena, Rena. She's got an eBay store. I'll throw a link in. Let me make a note. Since somebody mentioned my wife, I'll plug her stuff since she supports me. Sorry to be taking the time. She's running a sale, 25% off all her shirts. Liquidation sale. So, and please tell me I haven't left you guys just looking at this banner the whole time and that I just screwed up um, typing stuff. Yeah, there's the link to my wife's store. And let's get, there we go. I know you guys were seeing me before. Sorry about that. Um, so, nothing really they can do for me. Uh, the hope is there maybe they'll have something that will help fight the inflammation, although my cervical issues, since it's calcification, which basically means bone, I don't know that an anti-inflammatory product or course of treatment is going to be of big help. I don't know shit, okay? I know that it's devastating each time you try and find a new doctor to have uh, a new procedure or a new medication or something in hopes that it will help you, and you learn to be very cautiously optimistic. And right now, that's kind of where I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. Um, and I don't know really what else to talk about with that. Like I said, I got a lot of research to do, a lot of learning to do um, about that. Um, you know, there's nothing else they can do. I'm out of notes. Uh, I'm hoping beyond hope that maybe they'll have some good suggestions. You know, here's one of the things, and I'm gonna try and leave on this note because I'm really way past my limit for sitting here comfortably, and I feel myself starting to fidget pretty badly. There comes a time where it's difficult to accept the new you when they tell you there's nothing left they can do, and that this is going to be your new norm and whatnot. And I think I'm all for doing your research and trying different things. But I think that you also have to be careful about getting too far on a wild goose chase and too desperate. Everybody's got to decide what course of action to take for themselves. I think there becomes a time where it becomes extreme. And the reason I bring this up at all is there's people who will just not accept that there are no treatments for certain things, who will go to astounding measures and sometimes dangerous measures. And the specific one comes to mind is somebody was telling me how badly their back surgery had been botched. And I said, well, that sounds so terrible. There must have been a really difficult case, or what were their contributing factors? They told me they had seen 9 surgeons before they would find somebody who would cut on them. Now, let's be real. Not every doctor is a good doctor, and yes, in every walk of life, there's people who will take the money and run. Um, if you've got 5, 6, 7 doctors telling you that you're really not a surgical candidate, at some point, I think everybody has to reach that point where they kind of give up on that avenue, because I fear that eventually you can always find a quack who will cut on you for the money, with no regard for what's really at your best interest. So you weigh that against your hopeful optimism that maybe something new will come along, or maybe you'll hear about something. So, like I said, I've pretty much talked myself out on this topic and pretty much used up my chair time for the day. I do have a new exit that I'm going to launch here before I start to ramble any further. If you enjoyed the show, let me know. Reach out to me. Um, Reach out to each other. Uh, if you've got a topic you want to hear, let me know. Every Sunday morning, I'm here. Hit the thumbs up, thumbs down, make a comment, because that makes it easier for other people who are looking for chronic pain interaction and information to find what I do. Um, and with that, I'm going to quit plugging myself. I'm going to ask you guys to take a moment and really believe how much I appreciate you tuning in, how much I appreciate you guys following me, um, how much it means to me, and how much purpose it brings me to know that I'm helping other people out there. So, with that, I'm going to get off the ramble. I'm going to get off the air. Joseph of Borg, one love. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next week.